I never thought I would say this on the podcast, but I am officially a Justin Bieber fan. And that might sound like I've completely lost my mind kicking off the show. But in today's episode, I'm going to talk about why Justin Bieber's performance in Coachella was a masterclass in business that we didn't know we needed. Welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast. I am so pumped that you're here because we are talking about one of my favorite hot topics that I had to rush into the studio to record after BDC Live. So if you're an attendee from BDC Live, you're going to laugh when you start to hear some of this conversation. But we are talking about Justin Bieber today on the show. I never thought those words would actually come out of my mouth, that I would be talking about Justin Bieber on my podcast, because I am not a Justin Bieber fan up until now. Uh, I so it sounds ludicrous that I am about to talk about why Justin Bieber gave us a masterclass in business that we absolutely didn't know we needed. So stay with me on this. Please don't turn, because what I'm going to walk you through is something that I think every coach needs to hear about their business. And this happened in real time. It was literally like BDC Live started on Sunday, Monday. And this event happened on Saturday. I just got sucked into the internet around this. And so I'm really excited to talk to you about Justin Bieber's Breaking the Internet and why it applies to your coaching business. So let me give you some backstory on this. By the way, my tech, of course, is really not working. So if you're watching this on YouTube, which shout out to one of my amazing students, Anna, she recently was like, I love watching you on YouTube because I get to see all of your antics. I get to see your full body, the way you talk. So don't forget, you can totally go and listen to every single episode on YouTube if you want to see me, see my guests, etc. So when we were preparing for, or weeks before leading into the BDC, I don't know if I wrapped up that thought. My camera's not working, so you're getting my second camera, so the quality looks a little different today. Weeks ago, I fell into listening to Justin Bieber's Swag 2 album. I've really never listened to. Obviously, I know some of his big songs and big classic songs from when Justin Bieber was a tiny, I would say a tiny artist hitting into the industry. And I've watched some other things, and I know some of the things that are on the radio, etc. And I can't say that I'm against him. It just was never really, he was never an artist that really landed for me. And so I started hearing some songs that were coming up on Spotify's suggestions, and I heard it thinking, I was at a coffee shop specifically, and I'm hearing this music and it's sounding like Justin Bieber. And some of it has just some deep transformational lyrics. Some of it is faith-based. I was kind of confused. So I went up to the barista and I said, hey, what are you playing overhead? And she looks down and she's like, oh, it's Swag 2, Justin Bieber's album. I was like, what? This really is Justin Bieber. So this is how it started. I was way out in Gilbert, actually, preparing for our final pieces to BDC Live. And so I had an hour drive back to my house. And I just jammed away, and his album was so good. It was so intimate and so raw. And if you haven't heard it, there's little clips in there that are him being interviewed on podcasts or TV shows. There's also clips that other people, maybe paparazzi or something, have recorded of him. Like one of him is at the beach and somebody's clearly invading his space and his family. And he's just like, can you give me space? Like it's a lot of realness. And I just so appreciate him being vulnerable and sharing his struggle in real time, because I think with celebrities, you don't get that, and it makes them feel so far away from you. And so it changed my whole positioning of I just feel kind of bad for this guy. Yes, he has this beautiful celebrity status and he's produced some great music and popular. And also I started to just listen and lean in. And I clearly could see he's also done a lot of internal work. You can hear him singing about his faith. You can hear him singing about his family, his priorities. And so all of this started making me just really appreciate it. I was sharing songs with my friends and sharing songs with my family. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me, Justin Bieber? And pretty soon, guess what? Everybody was kind of sucked in. And then lo and behold, last weekend, as I record this, I guess, yeah, a week and a half ago, Coachella 2026 hits. And if you're not familiar with Coachella, it's a huge music festival that happens in Southern California. And they usually pick 2 to 3 big, huge headliners. And this year, Justin Bieber was one of the headliners. So it's multiple days. There's different stages, smaller, artists to larger artists. And so he was the culminating act on Saturday night. And I didn't watch it live, but very quickly by Sunday morning, it's now called Bieberchella because Justin Bieber actually becomes the festival's highest paid headliner ever. And he was paid $10 million to perform at Coachella. I didn't actually know that number at first. And there's a reason I'm sharing this number because it actually becomes really important to why he did what he did. And I didn't know of any of this. So I start to see these photos of Justin Bieber, and he has literally just a blank stage. There's nothing on the stage but him for majority of the performance. I'm starting to see some of his popular songs that he's done collaborations with, like Tim's, Kid Laroi. He's actually bringing them onto stage as well, which I thought was super cool when he's this big of a headliner. He didn't have to share that stage, and he did. But what really is so cool about this experience is at one point, he sits down on the stage with a table and a laptop, and he's streaming YouTube. And behind him, you can also see what's happening. So he's got little clips of his basically childhood, his teenage years, where he's singing from maybe his living room or other stages. And he's actually interacting with his YouTube audience, asking what they want to perform, what he wants them to sing in real time. And he is now, as this, I'm not even sure how old he is, 30-year-old self, he is singing pieces of his old songs live to his younger self. So I just thought it's so brilliant in so many ways. It's like an ode to the growth. If we want to be all coachy, it's like this inner child work to some degree. But second, what I loved is the simplicity. There wasn't pyrotechnics, there wasn't backup dancers, and everybody else has these crazy things, right? It's like, how big can we make it? So it's like everybody else zigged and he zagged in this kind of honestly oversized hoodie, no dancers. Honestly, I don't think he even changed costumes or outfits. He was just in this same thing, standing up at a stool with his laptop. And honestly, the internet lost its damn mind. Half the people kind of at first were like, this is lazy and an insult. The other half, which I am firmly in this camp, feels like this is genius, especially look at the world right now. There's so much stimulus. There's so much outdoing. There's so much fanciness. And he was like, I'm going to go soft, steady, intimate. And I think it's one of the most brilliant business moves from an artist that maybe I've ever seen. And I think there's 4 big lessons that we can learn from Bieberchella that actually apply directly to your coaching business. The first thing I think we can learn is the biggest lesson is this is what made me stop what I was doing. And I actually took a screenshot and had to implant this discussion into BDC Live when I'd planned the content out for weeks, because it is this thing that you hear me say over and over. Same candy, different wrapper. And this is exactly what Justin Bieber did. He didn't need to do all new songs. In fact, barely did he hit on a few that were from the recent Swag album, but he went back and just pulled what he's known for, Baby Baby. And I don't even know some of the other titles by name. But what's so cool about that is he took those same things, foundational things that are his wheelhouse, and he just presented them in this new wrapper on a bar stool, singing along. And so he had this crowd. People were pumped. You see all these celebrities who are in the audience that when he starts to hit clips of these songs, they're just going crazy. And I think this is a really important business lesson for us, because sometimes we want to reinvent the wheel. We want to change all these offers. And if things don't go as we plan, we want to abandon the core things that are working underneath it all. And I just believe that this is not the case for you. All we need to do is take this same thing that's working well, and honestly, the way we talk about it is the wrapper that changes. So for example, if you have an amazing webinar that works, don't start over from the beginning. Tweak the title, tweak a piece of how you externally present it and go pitch it and bring it back in. Like, it's so much work to start over and do an entire new slide deck. And I see so many coaches just constantly in this grind of starting over. And that is unnecessary. Same thing if an offer doesn't go as you see planned, or maybe it does go really well and you're inclined, like, I've already done this. Just talk about it differently. The way you present it, put it in a different wrapper. And I think today more than ever, this is also important when we're facing AI and we're facing saturation and bots and all of this thing, is that this is your opportunity to up level the client experience and just say, how can I take something that's working really well, my signature coaching, and add a bonus or some other unique opportunity that's going to be the same core delivery in a slightly different, tweaked and adjusted wrapper. But here's the crazy part I didn't know when I fell in love with this kind of metaphor is Justin Bieber had sold his entire library of hits, from Baby to Sorry to Love Yourself, Beauty and the Beat, all those songs that you might, know. In 2023, he sold his entire music catalog to a company called Hypnosis or something, for over $200 million. So from what I've read, because I dug into this was like his rock bottom. He had not stewarded his money well, and he was in this position where he sold all the publishing rights and master royalties, all of it. And to be clear, he can still perform those songs. That's not how the law works. But the point is, emotionally and strategically, he was all ready to move on, and he wanted to be just that guy, but he wouldn't benefit from them. Right? He doesn't monetarily get any royalties that come from them. So instead of performing those old songs live with a full band the way everybody thought he would, right? He sat down, pulled up the YouTube, and sang along to his own music videos while they were on a giant screen behind him. And I think, it was just such a cool way to reposition it, and for the company that he literally sold his soul to not necessarily win, because he was able to highlight that season of his life, but take this huge payout without releasing brand new songs for him to make it happen. So, my question for you is, what's already working in your business? And maybe you've been underutilizing it, or you think you need to start from scratch, because honestly, that can be such a time suck for us over and over. So lesson number 2, which I've already alluded to, is, I want you to think back, if you're not familiar with Coachella, one of the big Coachella performances that happened years ago was Beyonce, and it was like a massive production, right? Choreography, full marching band, costume changes, very Beyonce-esque. And that kind of became the standard. So if you look at years later, this is what's happened. They've been trying to compete with what is called Coachella. But the night before Justin, Sabrina Carpenter went on, who did a very Broadway show. And then he comes in with literally his hoodie and a laptop. And I just think it's so cool. Everybody expected this big production, and he was like, no, I'm going to just chill and keep it low key. And his streaming numbers surged by almost 25 million in the hours after the show. He broke like merchandise records because he has his own clothing brand, of course, and it boomed. His downloads after the fact on Spotify is absolutely crazy. So I share this because I think it's a lesson in doing what everyone else is doing is the fastest way to kind of disappear into the noise. So I try to talk about this with you all, is like, how do you be a thought leader? If everybody else is doing all this AI stuff, for me, I'm like, yep, that means I'm not doing AI. And you don't have to have the fanciest funnel. So my methodology is high touch, personal reach out, show my face, be a person and a human. I was just on a sales call today with a coach who's invested in another coach's company, or coaches, and she's not getting what she wants. And she's like, mostly the coach doesn't even show up there to coach. It's like other people. And every time she adds something, we have to pay for it. In addition to this high ticket we're already playing with. And so for me, I'm like, loyalty matters in my brand. And I want to be the person so I can scale my business in a different way from the back end. And everybody's doing what she said. I don't want to be everybody. Lesson 3, and this was something that kind of got me, was he did not have to share the spotlight, right? He's the headliner. This is his moment. And yet he brought out multiple people to the stage with him. And every single one of those moments were like viral clips where you can see every collaboration like helped magnify the reach of that other person. And he talks about now how he specifically pulled people out. And so I think there is such an opportunity for collaboration and adjacent collaboration, people that aren't necessarily your direct competition, but maybe there's people that, not only are you lifting people up in your space, but that you can support each other. You share similar audiences. If you're a health coach that focuses on, I don't know, regulating blood sugar levels, can you work with a weight loss coach? Can you share an audience? And I think sometimes there's a lot of scarcity around this in our industry, and it doesn't have to be that way, right? The coaches who are building real businesses aren't white knuckling their space trying to protect it like a hawk. They are generous, I believe. They're connector minded, and that generosity comes back around tenfold. And my final piece that I think, the final lesson that I think Justin Bieber offers us in all of this is honestly just like let authenticity be your strategy. And I saved this one for last because I think it's the whole thing. It's the reason everything honestly worked for him. I feel like he's spent years, last few years going through some really public things. I think there was like a tour canceled because of stuff going on. He split with like his manager or record label or whatever the case is. And he could have walked on the Coachella stage and done what everybody expected of him or pretended, because I think it looks to me that most of his career is he did what all of the record labels told him to do. And that did not end up being well for him. And so this whole swag album and this stage presence, it really honestly showed who he actually is. He's just a 32-year-old guy in an oversized hoodie who went through something rough and came out on the other side. He's still himself. He still has a voice. He's grateful for where it all started. And he's also sharing his faith directly on stage and singing songs about it, which is such a brave move, especially in the Coachella environment. And that was his, I think, comeback moment. And that moment cost very little to produce. And it was worth all, way more than all the hoopla could have been potentially. And so I think about this for you. We talk about the trust recession potentially that's still existing, the shifting in AI, and the fact that our potential clients are skeptical is that it's not another certification that's going to have them buying from you. It's you showing up as actually you, talking about the hard stuff, talking about the thought leadership pieces, the things in your industry that fire you up, letting people see the real raw version of you, not feeling like you have to put on a mask and the most perfectly, fine-tuned outfit and makeup every single time you're in front. Because if that's not the real you, then I'm going to be a little blindsided when I do find out who the real you is. For me, this was never more evident than at BDC Live. It's like 40 coaches in the room. And when you were to see them as like, there's such a diversity. We have 20 somethings to 60 somethings, mostly moms, but not all moms, very diverse niches. And my sweet son was like, man, there's such a diversity here. My husband, Justin, actually introduced me on day one, which was super special. And my daughter was there for both days, and my son came for the start of it. So he and Justin could like see what it was all about. So it was super special to have them there. And he said, it's such an interesting, diverse crowd. Like, what brings them here? Which I thought was such a savvy thing to ask for a 14-year-old. And I said, honestly, I think the thing that brings people into this room is the permission to just be themselves. I feel like something I don't know any other way to be is honest and open. And sometimes I have makeup on and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I curse and sometimes I don't. And sometimes, I'm came from a teaching background. I went through hard stuff and I talk about all of those things. And I think sometimes we're afraid to share those moments, or we ask that, like, how much is too much to share? And I don't know. You have to figure that out for yourself. But I do know that if you don't share your whole self, then you're going to be running a business that's fully out of alignment for you. I also had a VIP day as I record this today, and I work with one of my, just an amazing client today. And the thing I actually challenged her to do is I said, first name, I want to see you and your brand. I hop on to your socials and I see these perfectly curated posts, but like, who really identifies with like a Canva graphic? I need you to storytell for me. I need you to show your face. I need to connect with you as a person and hear your story and the things that matter to you and the things that you coach. If you want me to invest in myself and trust you, I need to see all of you. right? And so we can talk about all the strategy we want on how to stand out. But if we don't actually give all of ourselves, that is the thing that will hold us back. So you showing up as actually all of you is one of the most, impactful things that you can challenge yourself to continue to do. And it can be small. For this client that I was working with, our goal is just one time a week moving forward. I want to see a picture of her and some sort of storytelling authenticity piece. And it's just the practice. It's exposure therapy to start to realize it's not going to kill you. And actually for her to test the engagement, like just put one out. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with your engagement. And so I love that we can learn so much from a Coachella performance that none of us knew that we needed. And he did get paid $10 million for this performance, which I think is so crazy and also awesome. And he didn't spend his money on that set. For me, he spent it on himself, on showing up truthfully and authentically. And it became, one of the highest grossing, most Googled performances. I mean, we're 10 days out and it's still everywhere. Everybody is, if you go to IG's most trending audios, it's like Bieber, 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 Bieber. And so for me, this is a masterclass. So just to recap, kind of the 4 learnings: same candy, different wrapper. When everybody zigs, you zag. Bring people with you on the stage, and authenticity is the strategy. So if you told me a few months ago I'd be recording an episode about Justin Bieber, I would have laughed. And I genuinely hope that this can also shift for you. I encourage you to go Google it, go listen to the music. And I hope that it encourages you to see all of these things inside of yourself as well. And if this episode landed for you, I would love for you to do me a favor. Can you just copy the link and send it to a friend? That's how more people find us. That's how more coaches can engage and get the support here. I don't gatekeep. I tell everything possible to help you be successful. And if you want to talk more about building a coaching business that's built around you and your strengths, your methodology, the things that fire you up, my calendar is always open for a chat at amanda-walker.com/let's chat. So until next week, go coach them up.